Let's continue with some hard questions in PMP exam. The first question, after completing a project, the team meets to conduct a lesson learned sessions. During this meeting, the team sees that all deliverables were completed to define parameters. However, during testing, there were a large number of errors identified. What should the project manager have done in this situation? Meaning, what could we have done to prevent these errors for the testing phase? A. We set up a meeting with the testing team to get more information about the testing methods to be used. So it's not the root problem because the testing phase were doing well. So we found a lot of bugs. So the problem should be from the earlier phase. B. Evaluated when the mitigation strategy will be implemented to prepare for the future project. So it's not to do with the current project to prevent the issues. And similar for D, planned for these errors in the risk register as something to look for the future projects. So in this question, we use the process of elimination to eliminate all the other answers and choose C. They conducted a Monte Carlo analysis, which will determine potential outcomes and response. So Monte Carlo analysis is the technique to use a large number of data to forecast the result and find out the potential outcomes, good or bad. So it could be used earlier to prevent the situation of a lot of errors in at the end of the project. So C is the final answer. The next question, while creating the work breakdown structure, the project manager highlight that the customer requests for the proof of concept and will only continue the project based on the result of the proof of concept. So this is what the project managers believe after the conversation with customer. And then a key team member insists that this customer has a history of requesting proof of concepts and continuing the project. The team needs to plan for the whole project, not just the proof of concept. So we will need to look at the longer term to finish the whole scope of the project rather than only the earlier or the initial phase, the proof of concept. So what should the project manager do? A, we instruct the team member to continue the current work. So it's not specific enough to address the problem and situation here. Evaluate the scope of work as described in the project charter. So the scope of work is not detailed in the project charter, so it's not right. C. Implement the 100% rule for creating the WBS. For those who don't know, the 100% rule with WBS is we need to break down the work into the smaller chunk, like from section 1 to 3 are the main parts of the WBS, and then we break down the 1 to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then all of them need to be summarized into 100% of the part 1. So it will be the rule to use the 100% rule. Okay, the final options, validate with the team member and create the WBS for the entire project, because this happened many times and this is a key member, so we should open to listen to them to deal with this situation. So D is the final answer. The next question, A project manager is working on an enterprise resource planning initiative that contains stakeholders spanning numerous business lines. The project manager begins to identify, evaluate, and categorize the stakeholder relationships to the program. What is the purpose of this process? So A, we identify all the stakeholders who can positively affect the project. Not right, comparing with the other one. Identify all stakeholders who can negatively affect the project. So B should be better than A because like who can negatively affect the project, we should pay more attention to serve and to identify and evaluate that issues or that risk. C, we incorporate the needs of all stakeholders. So the problem is with the all word here, because it's very unlikely that we can serve all the stakeholders. Especially this is numerous business lines, so it's not possible. And D, incorporate only primary stakeholders. So the problem is with the only word here, because we might be missing some important stakeholders that can negatively affect the project and that could lead to negative outcome. So B should be the right answer. The next question, a supplier for a regulatory project is responsible for making a component change. The supplier is unlikely to meet the project schedule. This is a risk. Based on the risk response plan, the project manager secure the approval to use paper forms. So we have the response plan at the beginning, and now the project manager just execute the plan with the stakeholder approval to use the kind of backup options until the component change go live. So this one is possible. However, that paper form may not be ready in time. Which risk type is the project manager facing in this situation? So the risk here is residual risk. Based on the definition of residual risk is some risk at the beginning, like we unlikely to meet the project schedule, meaning we will be behind schedule or deliver the project late the deadline. And using this response plan, mitigation plan, we use the paper form solution, but there is still some remaining risk or residual risk in terms of the PMP that this solution is not ready in time, so the project is still late. So it is the residual risk, and it is not secondary risk. Secondary risk is something we implement the mitigation plan and then it causing leading to a new risk. For example, we use the paper form, it leading to some incorrect of data, so it is a secondary risk. And primary risk or compliance risk is not right in terms of the concept of this situation. So B is the final answer. The next question, a project manager has finished a qualitative risk analysis with the team. Which project documents may require updating based on this information? A. Risk register report and lesson learned. So lesson learned is a bit concerning me. B. Plan risk management. So the plan risk management is something we align the team and the stakeholder to manage, handle risk during the project execution. So after we finish the qualitative risk, that we less likely we need to update that. Assumption log is right. Like we have some assumption from the beginning, and after some risk analysis, those assumptions could change. And assumption is right. Risk register is right. We could update some more details about the risk, issue log, like we analyze and then we find some issues, and also we update the risk report. So it is the right answer, C. D is not sufficient comparing with C, so C is the final answer. That's it.